Hey, what's up, people? Back at you again this morning with another Moralities Moment. This is the next video in my vid series entitled First Things First. This morning's vid is entitled Women and Children. My note says first women and children, then women equally with men, women and children. First thing I want you to notice here in my note, I say first women and children, then women equally with men. You know, it's a lot of stuff that's going on in society today, that some people will believe that women are superior to men in certain situations. But according to the word of God, that's not the order of things, and especially from the standpoint of how God intended the relationship to be between a man and a woman. And then to me, and in my opinion, that's why we have so many relationships that fall apart. That's why, in my opinion, we see so many situations where in relationships, men are usurped in their authority in the relationship, simply because, society, has it set up to where in some instances where women make more money than men. And then on top of that, and especially for black men, I'm not speaking for other nationalities or ethnicities. I'm just speaking from my own experience. The man's role in a relationship has been, downgraded. Society will have women think that they can do it by themselves, this independent woman, this strong woman, and all of that. But women forget that God created woman as a helpmeet to a man. Not saying that the man is over the woman or the woman is beneath the man, but women were created to help their man, complete the task that God has sent him into this realm, this physical realm, to do. Women are that companion that God intended to help her man, in his endeavors in life, not, disrespect or degenerate or whatever you want to, not to put him down, not to try to be his mother or none of that stuff. And my next point, and as I said, if a man is not willing to do, take care of his family or his kids, he has some character issues, not worth throwing away or giving up on, which society has become so accustomed to doing, but worth helping to understand his role in the family. See, women are so quick to throw brothers away, because he ain't doing this or he ain't doing that. But sometimes brothers have to, learn, and then that's where mature men, the elders in the village need to step up and help the young men learn what it means to be a real man. It don't make you a man just because you can go out and seek and conquer and sleep with 100 women. That don't make you a man. That just make you a player. It don't make you a man just because you go to work and you make $100,000 a year. You just a income earner. It's a lot of stuff that men that goes into being a man. Like I said, a protector and provider for his household. You got to be willing to do whatever it takes by any means necessary within the confines of legality to make sure that your household, your family, the women in your life are provided for and protected, But again, some brothers, and me personally, I don't think any person is worth throwing away. I think people are worth, trying to find out what the underlying issues are and then directing them to where they can get help or seek help, But again, the brothers, you got to be willing to do it. You got to be willing to do it, and another thing that makes it bad, and it's just my opinion, as I see things, brothers just get a bad rap. You got some good brothers out there that really try to do the best that they can. Yeah, they run into some roadblocks. They have some obstacles and all of that thing. And because they have roadblocks and obstacles, society, the people we love, they so quick to throw us away like, oh, you don't want to do nothing. You useless. You worthless. I'm wasting my time and all that. But see, going back to what I said, You know, that's never a good way to treat anybody. What if God threw you away? You know, what if God said, "Oh, you ain't worth my time. You useless. I don't even want to be bothered with you." What if God looked at all of us and from that standpoint, when we didn't always get it right or when we made a mistake? You know, that's why I've been telling people for the past few days that, you know, I'm getting more and more in a habit, you know, to love people with the love of God, because the love of man really hurts. You know, the love that men would have for you in this world, it really hurts, because ultimately you're going to find out what type of love people have for you when you've run into to obstacles in your life, when you're not doing what they want you to do or how you want them to do it. You know, again, brothers, first women, first children. My next point is, women, if you want your man to treat you like a queen, stop treating him like a field servant. You know, stop treating him like a field servant if you want him to treat you like a queen. You know, appreciate and respect go a long way in encouraging your man to go that extra mile without asking. You know, if a man don't feel appreciated and a man feels disrespected, what incentive does he have to do anything more than he's doing in the first place? You know, it goes both ways. You know, we're told in society to uplift and nurture and protect our women. Okay, women, we need you as men, you know, in your lives. The men in your lives need you to undergird them, you know, protect them, you know, encourage them. You know, I've seen too many times where women, you know, have a good man, and because the disrespect, the non-appreciation, you never have anything good to say about your man, you turn that good man into a bad man. You know, and in my opinion, you know, and just from things I've seen in times past and even lived it, you know, when you turn a good guy bad, it's hard for you to get him back on the good side. You know, so women, you know, if you want your man to treat you like a queen, you know, stop treating him like a field servant. You know, stop treating him like your messenger or your servant or your bellhop, if you would. But then, you know, men, if you want your women to treat you like a king, protect, provide, and do the things that are required of as you as a husband and a father. And notice I said husband and father. I didn't include boyfriend. I didn't include boo. I didn't include your significant other or my friend or none of that stuff. I said, but you know, treat him like provide. I said, men, if you want your women to treat you like a king, protect, provide, and do the things that are required of you as a husband and a father. See, a boyfriend and a boo ain't obligated to do none of that stuff. You know, they could pick up and leave at the drop of a heartbeat. And the same thing for women. You know, brothers, your girlfriend ain't obligated to do nothing. There's no commitment. Yeah, you in a relationship, but if you haven't put a ring on it, as they say, it's no real commitment there. You know, at any given time, it's really nothing vested, and you can walk up at any given time. The next best offer that comes along, they can up and leave. It's same premise in marriages, you know, but again, when I look at relationships, I look at it from the standpoint in the Bible where in most instances, relationships refer to a husband and a wife. You know, so men, if you want your women to treat you like a king, protect, provide, and do the things that are required of you as a father and a husband. Women, if you want your man to treat you like a king or queen, stop treating him like a field servant. Again, in both instances, appreciation and respect go a long way with the other individual that's in the relationship going an extra mile without asking. If you ever wonder why your man won't go above and beyond, maybe he's not feeling appreciated. Maybe he's feeling disrespected. Men, you know, if your woman, you're having a hard time with the woman in your life, you know, going that extra mile, maybe she don't feel appreciated. Maybe she feel disrespected. Don't know. So there's some things for conversation. And don't let me leave the children out. You know, children, they don't have a choice who their parents are. You know, parents, you know, be a parent to your child, you know, because one, they didn't ask here. And plus two, God entrusted you with that child to do right by that child. So men, you know, brothers, get it together. You might not be able to get along with your baby mama, but it's bigger than you. You know, think about your child. You know, I often tell people that it ain't nothing I won't do for mine, you know, because if God entrusted me with them, and I'm gonna do everything to make sure I can get them on the right path until they can stand on their own 2 feet. You know, and hopefully when they're able to stand on their own, they'll remember some of the things that I tried to instill in them in life. You know, so brothers, you know, it's easy to break and run, you know, but when you're breaking and running, think what you're leaving behind. You know, and women, you know, stop running your men off. Instead of nagging and complaining all the time, talking about he ain't doing this, he ain't doing that, try to sit down with the brother and work it out. You know, and if y'all can't be together, work it out. But make sure y'all can be cordial with one another for the children's sake. You know, just make sure, you know, brothers, again, women, children first, and then women equally, not meaning that she's above you or beneath you, but that person that's there by your side, helping you get through the obstacles in life, you know, building together. You know, we need to get our community so fragmented because we don't have that good, strong family center anymore. You know, so our society is fragmented. You know, fathers, you know, me being a father, I know the importance of being in my child's life. You know, I know the difference it makes, you know, so at all costs, brothers, remember, women, get along with the women in your lives, especially when there's children involved, so you could be there for your children. But the bottom line to all of this is, as men, we are the gatekeepers of our homes and our communities. So men, brothers, we need to step up, take back our families, take our kids out of the street, protect, nurture our women, you know, in our homes that are in our lives. Stop degrading them, calling them B's and H's, you know, and even in that aspect, you know, women, start respecting your men, the men in your life, you know, because contrary to popular belief and Dr. Phil and Oprah and all of those feel-good gurus, you know, you can't do it by yourself. You wasn't created to be independent. You were created to be interdependent, meaning one, God put you here as a helpmeet to a man, and God put you here so you could be interdependent on him. So you can't do it by yourself. Stop believing that lie from the devil. Stop believing that lie from the world, you know, because a lot of kids out here are the victim of that mentality, both from a man's standpoint and from a female standpoint. So again, remember, first things first, you know, women and children, you know, most important thing a brother could ever do in his attempt to facilitate family and unity in the community. With that being said, hope you enjoyed this morning's morality moment. Peace, and I'm out.